Okay, darlings, that brings us to almost the end of this episode of the Focused on Infinity Hour, more or less. I wanted to end by sharing with you the 12 values and briefly as I can, give you my feeling as to why these are the 12 values that together will create the world that we want and why they are each important and each you can't extract any single one of them. Because if you do, that's where the overculture starts creeping into you. Anti-capitalism, obviously, number one, right? Number one. Because capitalism is the consolidation of power and the belief that you can enclose the commons, people own it, and everyone else has to buy it or rent out themselves to them for some wage every day, rather than everybody on the planet getting to partake in and share in the world's wealth. Because that's what we're supposed to do. We were born on this planet. We should get access to the planet. Hello. Anti-racism. Not just not being racist, but being anti-racist. Right? Because racism is in everything. There's a white creator whose name I forget, but she makes content about, why she has to gentle parent white people talking about racism, because the only thing that a lot of white folks think is racism is the really wild overt shit, when using the N-word in a rap song because they said it is, and white people are like, oh, but they said it, I'm not saying it to any, shut up, please. Some words aren't yours. Some things aren't yours. You don't get to use them. All of it, everything, and look, not just anti-blackness, right? Anti-blackness is just one part of anti-racism, but there's Asian hate, right? There's all of these things, all of these different forms of racism, all of which have come down through, the spread of capitalism and whiteness and colonialism. But anti-racism, you have to be anti-racist, right? You have to be. Decolonialism. Decolonialism is the hole in the boat for a lot of, frankly, Marxist-Leninist types, for a lot of people who have great politics, great theory, but forget that the people just taking over the factories and continuing to do the same thing the factories are doing, well, that's bullshit too, right? Because we can't keep extracting from the world like this. We have to have indigenous leadership, right? And indigenous leadership just means people who were born in and know a place being the ones to say, hey, think of it as the way I conceived it in something I made a while back. It's called Visions of New Lenape. Look it up. But it, working it into some framework of the world that we understand, it would be something like an Indigenous Land Stewardship Bureau, right? Instead of going to the Bureau of Public Works or to land management or whatever, you would go to the indigenous people of an area and be like, hey, we want to build this building. And they would say okay, well, you can't build it here because this is where migratory patterns are. This is where this river goes. This is, putting that plant here is going to fuck up the ecosystem. And through that, continuing to be able to advance society in conjunction with the needs of nature, and therefore have a sustainable world that continues to provide for us forever. I mean, it should be obvious, right? Unfortunately not. Anti-imperialism. I mean, going into another country, saying that it is because they're narco-terrorists or something, literally, I can't get over how wild it is that we have to talk about us sending in troops and kidnapping the leader of a different country and then parading him through the streets of our country and putting him on trial in a country he's not from for stealing oil from us that is underneath the ground where he lives. Is it me? Is it me? Anti-imperialism. War is the great evil. Period. Intersectional and decolonial feminism. If your feminism is like turfy, it's bullshit, right? Because who else likes to define women based on their ability to bear children, on what their body looks like, on misogynists, babes. Intersectional and decolonial feminism acknowledges the role of women and of femmes and of femininity in human history, and that it can be whatever the people want it to be, right? That there are many, many different roles, many different gender roles, and that, of course, Look, get mad at me if you want, okay? All the fucking Abrahamic religions, which we'll get to later, are misogynist as all hell, okay? It's just not okay to have different rules for someone based on, you know, what they got in their swimsuit area. Like, it doesn't make any sense, okay? Unless you're, of course, trying to control. The weirdest thing to me, not the weirdest thing, but the most insidious thing is that, you know, it's like how the grossest men in the world refer to women as females. The reason that's so gross and causes such a like visceral ick reaction is because you only refer to animals based solely on sex, like, you know, binary sex at that, which also doesn't exist in nature, but you know what I mean? If you intend to view them as chattel, if the only thing you're thinking about them is whether or not you could have sex with them or they could bear offspring, potentially, that's fucking creepy, right? It's creepy. It's creepy. Disability justice. Disability justice, y'all. Like a lot of us, going back to something about, we talked about last week or the week before, Michael Jackson. This was a person who had vitiligo that people didn't believe him about, had an autoimmune disease that people didn't believe him about, right? That ended up leading, people believed all kinds of weird stuff about him rather than just understand that disability exists and that it affects people and that there are ways that people are dealing with it quietly because this world is not built to care about disability. And that also includes things like understanding people's neurotypes and making accommodations for those and letting people be who they are based on those things. It also accounts for, like I said earlier, the conversation about plastic straws. Yes, they should be available for disabled people who need them. Of course they should. Of course there should be ramps everywhere. And also, if we take care of disabled people, it makes life easier for all of us, right? There are tools that everyone uses that we only have because they were made with disability in mind, right? So, obviously, disability justice is a big part of it. There's more to all of these things, but I'm trying to go as quickly as I can. Pro queerness, say hey, yes to being gay, okay? Like, everyone should be able to explore their gender, their sexuality, all of that in whatever terms they seek, okay? There is a quote from, I believe it's actually Aleister Crowley: every man, woman, and any intermediately sexed person should be able to experience themselves and enjoy any means soever of themselves and of love and of sexuality without any, as long as everyone is a willing and adult and agreeing party. That's it. That's it. Because it's another vector of control, right? And the Abrahamic religions really get into it heavy, but not even originally, but like the way that they're used now. You know what I mean? Say hey, say yes to being gay. I mean, listen, maybe you're not gay, maybe you're straight. That's fine, but you know, just whatever. Just keep quiet about it. In addition to that, separate from that, sex positivity. Listen. This is one that gets a lot of y'all fucked up, okay? Because you think you're sex positive, but what it just means is like you are okay with the fact that you have sex or that you like sex. But do you demonize people desiring to have sex? Do you think that the desire to have sex with someone is perhaps a sinister motivation, an inherently bad motivation? Like that it's somehow weird or bad to desire to have sex with someone else? Of course it's not, right? Now, of course, if someone is a creep, doesn't take no for an answer, whatever, it's a, you know, thoroughly inappropriate, whatever, that, of course, that's the problem, right? But being sex positive means that no one can, slut shaming, right? All of that stuff, all of that is yet another way that people will punch down on sex workers, on people who they view as promiscuous, right? And even will deny themselves their own desires. And the desire for human touch and for sexuality, that's a need, that's not a want. And like a lot of people are walking around fucking pent up and angry and trying to get everybody else to feel like they do, because they're just tight like a fist about the whole thing because they think it's something dirty. And it's one of the, food, sex, and sleep are the great joys of life. Like, don't deprive yourself. And don't be weird about it. And also, tied into that, there is an attachment of desire for sexuality to the masculine. And that's weird. And also misogynistic. Even if you are a woman or a femme, right? Because all humans have desire for that. Think about it. ACAB. Do I need to get into that one? I mean, they are the reason that all of these petty lordlings can continue to destroy our lives. It's because they have, and ACAB also includes samurai. They were cops. Knights. The knights were cops, right? These were all the cops. These were all the people who, for the king, for the lord, would go around taking the taxes, doing whatever they wanted to the people, beating them, stealing them, and also the ones who, when they enclosed the commons, who enforced that. ACAB, 1312. The 1312 Chronicles. Next is, we're almost done, witchcraft and decolonized spirituality. Now listen, a lot of y'all have become atheists after deconstructing from Christianity or Judaism or Islam, and that's a great start. But the spiritual is so important, right? Witchcraft itself really is like, when you're talking about witchcraft, you're talking about the OG science, the OG medicine, right? And not just that, but beyond the practical, the connection with spirit that we all need and we all have, and maybe have just cut ourselves off from because we don't believe in our magic. I am a witch. I'm proudly a witch. I do spell work and magic basically every day of my life, and I recommend it. Because getting in touch with spirituality that is disconnected from the systems is a way for you to get in touch with yourself and to be connected with the divine, because there is a divine spark to this existence. There's something fucking beautiful there that we shouldn't cut ourselves off to and just declare it purely mechanistic. Pandemic conscious, public health. Look, I know it's easier to move on, pretend like it's okay. Like, well, whatever, I just get sick once in a while, but like, no. See, we are public health now. Public health isn't the CDC. Public health isn't the NIH. Public health is the public taking care of each other's fucking health. And I simply don't understand why this is one of the more difficult ones for people to get. Okay? You want to talk about the 70s? It's a good time to remind y'all that HIV started spreading in the 70s. Okay? It didn't start spreading in the 80s. It started spreading in the 70s. And some people got a little sniffle. Some people got a little sick, but no big deal. And then 10 years later, 5 years later, 8 years later, however many years later, it becomes AIDS. Because with viruses are like terrifying, y'all. They're these like, are they proteins? Are they like biological programming? Whatever the fuck they are, the initial effects and the long-term effects are not the same thing. COVID is so new that we haven't had 10 years to see what happens yet. But we do have science telling us how damaging it is to immune systems. We have that science. Peer-reviewed science from everywhere. But a lot of y'all are just ignoring it because you'd rather go to fucking Applebee's. And weird, couldn't be me. But more important is public health. Right? I need you strong. I need you as healthy as you can be. Because we gotta fight. Because we've got to fight. We have a long fight ahead of us. And if it's eating away at us and we're not taking care of each other, that's the first thing, is to take care of each other. And if we have health, if we don't have health, what do we got? What do we got, really? And the last one, revolutionary love is the 12th value. Because what's the fucking point of all this if not to show each other how much we love each other? How much we love this life? How much we love the brilliant fucking experience of getting to be on this planet and feel the sun and taste different foods, hear different music, listen to touch each other, right? These are miracles. It is such a wonder to be able to be involved in the process of living and of fighting. And there's just so much to be joyful about in the simple experience of living. And sharing that, and wanting to share that with each other, and wanting to share that, more importantly, with the future, is what revolutionary love is all about. And revolutionary love is not weak. It's about fighting for the things that you love. Right? Love is an action verb. Love is something that you do. Love is something that you are. It is something you embody. It is not something merely that you feel. Because in the end, your feelings are for you. They're only about you. It's your actions that actually make a difference, that are going to make a change in this world. And with that, those are the 12 values that I hope that y'all will share and try to, and look, we all fall short every day and in every way, in some way. But it's aspirational, right? These are not rules or laws. They're values, right? They're things to aspire to and to think about as you create your life, the one life that you know that you will get. And I want to spend that life loving and living and fighting and creating and just being a general menace to all the systems that have made this world so fucked up. Thank you for being here. I'm so glad to bring you another episode. This is our 5th episode. Please do share the stream with people, and tell people about it. And if you have something you'd like to contribute, right? Maybe you make animations. Maybe you have a song that you've done. Maybe you have like a weird routine that you want to do. Hit us up. Send it to us. Maybe we'll show it on our show. Because the other thing is, we want to help promote your art and the artists that create this community, the broader House of Infinity, focused on infinity community, right? I put this thing together not for me, but because I know there are other people like me who look at the world and say, you know what? I don't want what's being offered to me. I don't want the NFL. Yeah, I'm a musician, but I don't want the Tonys or the Grammys. That seems bullshit to me. Right? I want people to be able to bring their talents directly to each other. And this is just one platform to do that, just one way to do that. So, thank you again. Please check out my Linktree, and if you can support me by becoming a patron, I would really appreciate it, because the more support I get, the more I can focus on doing these things, and the more I can continue to build in all the ways that I do, because that's what I do, even though I'm going to do it anyway, because, again, that's what I do. Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, as always, to Alice Pope of Alice Pope Astrology, and to my excellent, excellent collaborator, Mistrix. Mistrix, take us out for the night.